Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the North East Non-League Show, episode 49, Hartlepool United special. What's going on? Sponsored by Jade Bell and DJ Private Hire. Tonight, join us. We have Callum and Alex. Lads, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Pleasure. Good evening.
Yeah, good seeing. Should be down there, Liverpool's parking with Emma, but I suppose two glorious assistants tonight will do. In Callum and Alex. But no, thank you very much, lads. Just been chatting there before the show. I know we had Colin Larkin on last night and kind of looking back at the League One days, and it wasn't just surviving, it was competing in League One against the teams. I mean, you look at the teams now, Leeds, Norwich, Southampton, and we weren't really struggling at that time as well. And a few fans, even at that point, were kind of complaining we should be pushing on even higher. And it kind of gets to where we're at night and kind of obviously the state that the club's in and what could be next really for the club as well. I mean, lots happening on and off the pitch. And starting with his first statement, obviously, from Singh on the 25th of October. And I think we chatted about the start of the season when they put the club for sale. Before he gets on to the main point, it's all about him, what he's done first, what he's getting all his abuse from. But obviously, he touched on obviously the sales with a few interested people that's been into it. Obviously, Joe interest coming into the club, and obviously just that plea to sell the club as soon as possible. Start with yourself, Alex. What was your thoughts on that first statement when it came out?
I'll be honest. When I saw it, I kind of thought, this is just a statement for the sake of a statement. You know, it was the news was there is no news. I know there's been rumours of various groups who've approached the club and whatnot, but the statement basically was there's no one there, and it was like I feel like personally it was because he was getting a bit of stick from the fans, which he has been all season, to be fair, and it was kind of a look. I am doing the right thing, and you know I'm not saying the guy isn't doing the right thing in terms of the players are still getting paid and things like that. It's not quite like what happened the first time we're in the National League, but it's, you know, there's definitely an air that, you know, he what he wants out now. And I know we're going to talk about the second statement in a minute, but the second statement to me was something completely different in terms of that, and I'll talk more about that when we come to it. But yeah, the first one, it was just a bit strange. I thought, you know, it was like, as I say, it was a statement for the sake of a statement. It wasn't. It didn't tell you anything.
Yeah, and you know better, Alex. I mean, obviously we get the programs on a match day. What's with the programs, and obviously the program notes, you always have the chairman part, and I can imagine it's similar things each week to trying to take the tension away from him, kind of thing. What he's done in the past again, putting all that. Is that similar what you're seeing week in week out in the programs as well?
Yeah, as you said, you know, as you alluded to yourself, it's very much like, you know, it's about him and trying to improve his profile and say to some of the fans who, you know, some of the fans are just like, get rid of him. He's absolutely rubbish, whatever. And he's trying to say, look, I am actually trying here. And despite what the evidence might support, you know, he's saying, I am actually trying to do a good job. So it's just, I think it's trying to make him seem better in the eyes of the fans. But I don't necessarily think it's working. I think the fans are tired of him now. And I think the fans are tired of what he has to say. They just want the club out of his hands, perhaps. And I think it maybe backfired on him a little bit, that first statement, because the next game, you know, it didn't go so well on the pitch, as we will probably allude to later. And the fans were on his back.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, Callum, coming to yourself, what was your thoughts on that, on the first statement?
It didn't make any sense, to be honest. Like, I know you have passed over as past statements that he's put out, and the video that he did as well with the other Alex before. And he said himself that he wouldn't just put out a statement for the sake of putting out a statement, otherwise we'd have a club statement every other week.
Yeah.
And then he releases that one, which basically said, as Alex said, there's no update. And that was about it. But again, trying to say he's done this, trying to cover his own back and make himself seem better than, you know, I was about to say what he has done, but he has done a lot. But he is trying to keep himself the glory in that he's done all of this, and then he's trying to do this going forward. But it's basically just at the moment, that statement when it was first released, nothing's happened. And then obviously the match after that didn't really help, to be honest. But hey ho.
And I think it's the way it comes out as well, because obviously when they put it on the website and they put it on the social media, it's just the picture of the Hartlepool bag and the statement. You think, oh, come on, what's going on? I've mentioned, you to me like, right, this is what's happened here, and then you read it and it's kind of like, wow, we've just been hit for 6. Like, this is absolutely nothing happened. Is that kind of what it felt like, Colin?
more or less. Like you see it with other clubs as well, and they put out statements, and there's paragraph after paragraph of things that are mentioned in there. But then when you actually look back at it, all of them mean absolutely nothing in contrast to what's actually happened. And you just think, well, that was a waste of everyone's time and a waste of a club statement, as he says he's not going to put out constantly, and then has done over the past month. But yeah, waste of everyone's time for that one at least. Anyway.
Definitely. And stay with yourself, Colin. Obviously, the next statement comes out the 1st of November about Singh meeting with the Supporters Trust to find options to safeguard the club, obviously, even now, and find, obviously, investors, possible fan-run club as well. But again, it was just, I think it was 3 or 4 lines. Didn't go into too much detail, very small. Again, it was just, again, a waste of time until they've had that meeting to then go and give a bit further statement, which didn't, obviously, the fans trust did, but you wanted just some more as a fan, don't you?
I mean, reading that one, it was, like you say, what, 3-4 lines, if that, of he's had a meeting. That's about it. Like, brilliant. We could have an update of every other meeting that he's had. It's not really going to make a difference to how the fans see the background stuff. Obviously, I know we'll come on to it later on, but the trust statement released, what, a day after, if that, of much more detail of everything that's happened, was basically what the fans have asked for over the past 4 or 5 years, just to, what is actually happening, as opposed to a 3-line statement of we've had a meeting. It's like, well, brilliant, but what's actually happened with the meeting? But yeah.
So putting out there saying, I've signed a player, and that's pretty much you just wait till Saturday to see who runs on the pitch, and it just had no meaning to it at all. I mean, same myself, Alex, just like expected, really, isn't it?
It is, but I think the thing with the second statement that alarmed me, I actually thought it was quite scary, really, because at work we were looking into it in detail to try and pick out the bits of it, and the bit that alarmed me was the I will fund the club in the short term.
Yes.
Now, what does that mean? Does that mean till Christmas? Does that mean till the end of the season? Does that mean until a buyer comes in? It's all very much like his statement and the interview he gave at the end of last season, where it was like, if you fans don't get off my back, I'm out of here and all this. It was a similar sort of threat to me. It was like, what does that mean in the short term? And is he? And I'm not casting aspersions here, but is he going to do what he did at Darlington? Where he kind of stripped everything as much as he could and then left under a bit of a cloud and everything like that? Or is he genuinely going to fund the club until a proper custodian is in place? And so for me, that second statement was actually a lot scarier. And then, like Callum said, the trust statement was a lot better, but we actually got a bit of a time frame in the trust statement, which still wasn't particularly comforting, because I'm pretty sure the trust statement said until the end of the season. So does that mean then that at the end of the season Raj Singh's off, whatever happens, or does it mean that that's the ideal time frame, and hopefully by then things will be in place that the club can be passed on to a proper owner or consortium who can run the club properly and afford to do everything and back the manager, whoever that may be? If John Askey isn't still here, I hope he is, by the way. But if whoever is in charge there, are they going to get the backing, or is it just going to be a case of, right, I'm out, lads, see you later?
Yeah, that was the main worry, like you say, when the statement came out. It comes out at the start of the season where you might think, right, give it 3 or 4 months, someone will come in and buy it, no problem. It's getting to that stage now. It's thinking, oh, I'm actually still putting money in the club. No one's coming forward. And I think that's the worry I had when I first read it's kind of the short term. Is it going to get another 3 or 4 months where there's just no interest at all? And you go, yeah, that's it now. I've had enough, and just walk out, because obviously they can, but it's going to leave the club in a horrible situation. We're getting on to Hartlepool, obviously trust statement, as we said, very detailed, and looking at the fan run club, highlighted obviously Singh funding the short term as well, obviously going up at the end of the season, and just the trust working with him to find solutions. And I think obviously with some of them worrying points that we mentioned obviously in the previous statements, but that one there as well, about obviously still needing funds now. So he's saying that he's putting money in, but he still needs extra support, which is quite worrying. Him and the chairman come up and say that. I mean, what was your thoughts on that one, Alex?
As I said, the trust statement I felt was a lot better in terms of it actually gave us a time frame in that sense, and it was, it was detailed. And I think the one thing the trust is saying is, though the trust would like some input, they don't want to run the club. I don't think, and I don't think it's unfair of me saying this, I don't think the trust can afford to run the club at present. And we're not like an AFC Wimbledon or an Exeter who were fan owned for a long time and had that backing. The trust is there, but then again, there's so many other different fan groups that official or otherwise. There's so many other different fan groups. I think it's fair to say we are the club with the most fan groups outside of the Premier League. I've never known so many fan groups in a National League club, but I think because of that, the trust are trying to make the point that, look, at the end of the day, it's in the club's name. We're Hartlepool United. We're not trying to divide everybody. It's about everybody coming together and singing from the same hymn sheet. Whether or not you are pro-trust, anti-trust, indifferent to the trust are there with the best interests of the club at heart. I'm not a member of the trust. I'm not saying I'm anti-trust, but I'm not a member of the trust. But they're not out there to go, let's leave the club down in the lurch. They want the club to succeed. They want the club to do well. So if they are talking to people and if there is discussions occurring about bringing together a consortium, whether it's a bunch of local businesses, whether it's one huge rich guy, I don't know, fair play to them. But from how I understood it, they're being the middleman. They're trying to be the intermediary to try and encourage people to come together. And I think if we can have someone like that with the best interests of the club at heart, whether or not you agree with them, they are there because they want the club to succeed, as I said. So I think you need to look at it from that perspective and think, look, the club statement was there, but the fact that they said the end of the season kind of brings a bit of urgency to the matter, because as we've all said, really, is Raj Singh just going to go, right, see you later, or not?
Yeah, and that's it. It's flying by, isn't it? I know, Colin, you sent the statement across. I mean, what was your thoughts on it when you first seen it?
Well, a lot more detailed than any other statement we heard from the club, that's for sure, and highlighted everything that they've discussed in the meeting, which I think it's all the fans can ask for, what's going on and stuff like that. But as Alex says, they are seeming that they're acting like an intermediary, and it seems a bit like back to when we were almost going out of existence when Raj stepped in at first, that Jeff Stelling was that one that was sorting out the links between the current owners and now Raj. But as Alex says as well, they're putting a timescale on the end of the season. Is that when they were looking to sell it by? Is that when Raj is only going to fund it till, or what are the real questions that are we going to have a club to support next season? But I think in the statement as well, they say that even if they were dumped with the club themselves, they can only afford to run it for 2 months, and then that'll be all of their funds taken up, which if Raj was wanting to do that, then that is worrying obviously for us, because funds for 2 months would take us to January, if we're lucky. And then we've got the rest of the season to go with no funding. But you look at it from another perspective as well. Yes, you have your AFC Wimbledon, your Exeter, the two clubs notably that had fan owned, or I don't know if Exeter partially still do or not. They're the ones that are still up in the football leagues. But you look at the rest of the fan owned clubs, they get to about the National League North. Your Darlows that do the crowd funding, your FC United of Manchester, stuff like that, and they seem to flatter in that league and can't go any further because fans simply can't afford to keep running without someone else in the background to actually put money into it to get them further up. So, we'll see what happens, and hopefully we can get someone in, whether that be some single person wanting to take over, pumping the money in to keep us going, or a consortium of business that's happy to take over and get us running as well. But it's just someone would be nice.
Anyone, but yeah,
sorry. Wrexham, Wrexham were a fan-owned club. Wrexham have got a lot of support behind them, and arguably more support than Pools. We have a lot of support for the level we're at, but Wrexham, were in this division for 15, 16 years before they got out, and they got out because of the huge backing of we missed out on. So, it's one of those, like you say, fan-owned clubs. It's very difficult to be successful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like you say, kind of with the fan-owned clubs as well. And I think, yes, 10 years ago it might have been okay, but you look now and just financially, everything's just going up in the world. Like you say, even like you say, we work in the insurance, that's going up. You look at petrol, that's going up. You look at your mortgages and everything like that. And trying to ask every single fan to put so much money in per month, per week, per year, whatever, it's going to be hard to do that. And I think even if it did kind of go down that route, you still need them 3 or 4 massive investors still be putting that money in, because, like you say, you've got to be bringing them players out complete in them leagues. They're wanting a certain wages, otherwise it's just going to be mid-table down to relegation zone. You need to be keep funding that every time as you go ahead. And you've seen teams work with it, teams hasn't worked with it. I mean, what would be ideal if the fans did get together? You would still need some potential from somewhere else, backers from not just the area, but someone putting the money in, wouldn't you?
Oh, 100%. I mean, don't get us wrong. Like, you look at the times where we were doing, I say doing well, but obviously better than we are now. Back when we were in League Two, when we had Chandler at first, and then even when Chandler left, and we were still getting good crowds throughout the season, 4,500, 5,000 a match. Yes, we had the cup runs that definitely helped back then as well. But look at the crowds compared to now, we're getting 3,500, if that at a push. If we can get the crowds back and you're getting 4,500, 5,000 a match, if half of those, have season tickets, and then you've got those that are paying monthly subscriptions to this trust and stuff like that, it's definitely a massive help. But you look at the league nowadays and the wages compared to what it used to be, like, you're getting much higher professional wages in this league. Like, you're getting people dropping out the football league to come to our league. So it's mental compared to what it used to be. So that's why you get the clubs that get stuck at your National League North, and if not lower now, because of how demanding the wages are. So we definitely need someone else to come in and fund it, as well as the fans.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on that one, Alex? I mean, like you say, if it did go down the fan route, Crow, but like you said, you would need still a main featurehead at that top of the table, don't you, to kind of look at things where if you just get a table full of people, it's just going to be different reactions, different thoughts. It never seems to work, does it?
It can work, but I think, like Callum was saying, and you were saying as well, with the cost of living and everything like that, in an area like Hartlepool as well, it's unrealistic. I think it's fair to say, without being defeatist about it, it is unrealistic to, like you say, expect, say, 2,000 season ticket holders to all put in money to the trust, and then if we did get the crowds up and people turned up on the day, say another 2,000 turned up on the day, it's expensive. People can barely afford, like you said, mortgages, gas, electric, whatever, and these are working people as well. These aren't necessarily just employed people. These are working people. You've got to make a choice there. So I think if there's a figurehead there, whether it's a Ryan Reynolds type or whether it's someone a bit more realistic, it is definitely needed. I'm not saying a fan ownership thing couldn't work, and I'm not against the idea, but I think to be completely fan owned, it's a big ask, a really big ask.
Yeah. And getting on field stuff now as well. I know we chatted before the season started, and it was quite a solid squad that was built up. There wasn't too many players kind of left, and he kind of built around the players that he wanted to keep there. And it was very positive, like you say, the start of the season, very good as well. But Alex, since obviously September, 15 games in all competitions, only won the 3 games, drawn 2 and lost 10. It's a poor form on the field, sorry, at the minute as well, isn't it?
It is. We had our best start for something like 30 years, which is fantastic. We won like 5 out of the opening 6 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And brilliant start to the season. Great. You thought, fantastic, we're on this run. And then injuries have absolutely decimated the squad. It started with Dan Dodds. Dan Dodds going out, and then we lost the player that I have referred to numerous people as the best player in the National League that we found completely from nowhere, Anthony Mancini.
He was on fire, wasn't he?
Unbelievable. I know Sunderland game, he was unplayable. The Borough game was unplayable. I've said it to a couple of people, he's the best player in the National League, and we found him from nowhere. To lose him, the good news is not till the end of the season, but we lost him. Yeah. We lost Callum Cook. We lost, Alex Lacey's never been properly fit. The squad's just been absolutely decimated by injuries. And I don't care what team you are. I don't care if you're Man City. If you take Haaland, De Bruyne and John Stones out of Man City, they're a different team. No way am I saying that Hartlepool United are Man City. But you take 3 key players out of the team who Cook, Dodds and Mancini all are. The squad is going to struggle. And, as much as we did assemble a decent first team, we were very threadbare on the ground. And it's been proven, it's shown that the players who've come in haven't been as good or are not fully fit because they're injured as well. I think the club's training ground's not helping because they're not training on a proper pitch. But, you know, the fact that we've just absolutely been decimated by injuries is what's caused this form. And I think, like I say, take 3 key players out of a team, you're going to struggle. We're probably down to 4 or 5 key players missing at any one time. Every time we get some good news, something else happens. You know, like this weekend, Callum Cook came back into the team, but Joe Gray's injured. And it's like every time there's one good thing, we get smacked in the face with something else. And, you know, it's hard. You know, one of the things that Dave Challoner's team was built on was that core. We were really lucky in that we didn't get many injuries, but like any team, it was consistency. The team knew what was doing. Every person knew their role, and it just worked. Where now correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've played a settled defense twice, as in 2 games in a row. We've played 2 games in a row with a settled defense. Every other game there's been a change or 2. It's not sustainable. You know, the midfield. At one point, we had our 3 key midfielders out in Crawford, Mancini, and it was, you know, well, Featherstone wasn't playing at all, but we had 3 key midfielders missing. It's just not sustainable. There's no surprise that we've struggled when we've had that many injuries. There's a surprise that we've had that many injuries, but there's no surprise that we've struggled because of that.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the you saw the turn at the Chesterfield game. 2-0 up within 6 or 7 minutes. Mancini absolutely running the show for that period of time, and then as soon as the injury strikes, it's a completely different team. I mean, one player, you know, you don't want to back one player constantly, but the difference he made in the squad straight off the offset, and as soon as he got injured in that match, it was just a complete swap around. We've been far too defensive all season. Too many errors, and then it's just slowly fell apart from there with other injuries building up, and it has definitely took a turn this season compared to where it was going at the start. But hopefully, when he's back, we can turn that around.
Fingers crossed. I mean, one of the games that sticks out, Carl, I think with the club overall, be disappointed was the FA Cup and getting beat 1-0 off Chester, division below. But it's not just obviously the game is like getting beat, but it's who then you go for the next stage, next round. Who do you get? Can you go a bit further? Can you get that big draw? And financially, that would have been huge for the club at the States and at the moment as well. But again, disappointing to go out so early again for Hartlepool United, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I'll try not to correct you in that it was 2-0, but we'll leave it at 1-0. I'm happy with that result.
Let's forget the second goal.
That's all right. But yeah, I mean, you look back at the season, we had the FA Cup run, and that for us was absolutely massive for the club. You know, getting to Palace away in the 4th round, the funds it brought into the club was unbelievable, and obviously that year making a profit and all of that. And then this year you go against a team against Chester. And I mean, fair play to Chester. I mentioned to their fans after that, they came with a plan. They knew exactly what they wanted. They played it start to finish. Obviously they got the breaks. I think looking back, they had 3 shots and they scored twice. Like that. You know, we wouldn't complain if the shoe was on the other foot. If we defended for 90 minutes straight and we had 3 shots and scored twice, we'd be over the moon with it. But, you know, it is disappointing. You don't get the FA Cup money from it. You don't get, you know, your crowd splits and stuff like that. I mean, I know they got York in the next round and we play them in the league, but still could have been anyone after that had we gone on a little run. But to bow out, not even in the first round, in the qualifying round, is a bit of a kick. And I think it's the first time Pools haven't made it to the qualifying round in quite a lot of time. I don't know the exact figure, but a lot. But yeah, it's disappointing all around, that's for sure.
I want to say Vauxhall Motors, I remember going to watch that game. Sure, they got better. That was a
horrible game. Vauxhall Motors, James Brown scored.
There was a game, I can't remember. There was one game I went to, it was the FA Cup, it was a qualifying, it was 1-0 at the Vic, and it was the worst game ever. Like, I can't remember who it was against, but it was a qualifying. I was thinking, what am I doing here? Like, it was a total waste of 2 hours of my life. It was horrible.
It wasn't Blythe, was it?
No.
Oh, don't bring the Blythe game up. I call that free kick.
Sorry to give you nightmares, because that is the absolute lowest point I've ever felt. But yeah, Oh,
Nah, I still get slander off my friends for that, because as soon as they had that free kick, I called that it was going in the top right, and lo and behold, over the wall in the back of the net. I was just like, for God's sake.
I genuinely said to Stephen Turnbull at the reunion dinner that he was at, I said to him that was the best thing ever, because we ended up getting Ronnie Moore and we ended up staying up. So I thanked him for that, although it was horrible. I said, "Here's Stephen, thank you."
And come back to yourself, Alex. I mean, we touched on this a lot over the summer about kind of over the last few seasons where it was just players in, players out, and it didn't happen. But I had to write this down because of so much what's actually gone on within the last, I think it was only just the last month and a half, but Featherstone returns, Angerman signs, Axis leaves, Burton Pruitt leave on loan, Matt then signs, Finney leaves, Hancock signs, and then, like you say, just more deals in and out, these short-term deals where they'll have a good few games, then someone will go, oh, well, I will just take them anyway. Waiting off from a full deal at the end of the season. It's just not what you want to see at the club again, do you?
It's not, and I think today Agumang's gone back. Burton's come back to Pools. It's one. Yeah. It's more. It's even more. More change, but it has been by necessity. I think, you know, with all of the injuries, you know, we've needed players in. You know, we need a big ugly defender, if you ask me. You know, what is it? 1 clean sheet in 45 games. You know, we need a big ugly defender who can stay fit and just keep the ball out of the net. But yeah, you're exactly right. Stability. It's not been a particularly stable place to be at the moment. But I think for me, John Askey knows the type of player he wants to get into the club. He knows the players at work. It's whether or not he's going to get back. Now, the short-term thing, I don't know if that's John Askey's idea to try someone out and see how they fit into the team, or if it is genuinely he is restricted to, I can only get a short-term deal in. Yeah. For me, you touched on Featherstone. For me, he should never have left the club.
Nope.
He should have still been here at the start of the season.
Exactly.
But look, them's the breaks. That's how it's worked out. But yeah, it's not. You know, as I said, the amount of times we've had to change the defense, we've had to change the team in general. You know, we haven't even had a settled goalkeeper. I think it's fair to say. You know, it's hugely difficult, and as you say, complete uncertainty. You know, if you're the keeper and you've got the shirt, you want to know you're there. However much you like the other keeper, however much Pete Jameson and Joel Dixon like each other, one of them wants to be number one, and one of them wants to be playing every week, and the other one knows that if he's doing well, I'm not going to be in the team, and I'm going to do everything I can to get in the team and be the guy who's keeping him out, and that's what you want with the goalkeeper. For the first time in donkey's years, we've actually had 2 goalkeepers. But whether or not, you know, John Askey knows who his number one is, or, you know, what his settled back line is, or even if he's been able to play it because of injuries. You know, Jameson missed the game on Saturday due to, I'm not sure if it was illness or injury, but he was out on Saturday. So even there, you know, we have just had absolutely no luck this season. None whatsoever. And I know there's an element of you make your own luck, but how can you, like you say, with all the turnover of players, with all of the injuries and things, you just can't build anything.
You mentioned about the short contract situation. Now, from what I heard, I don't know if it is true or not, but it's not Askey apparently. Apparently, it's the higher ups say they won't give them full contracts unless they've had a 4-week trial, which is probably why we didn't see Mancini get signed for a good couple of weeks pre-season, even though he was minting every game he played, and a few others that were trialists for however long and then finally getting signed. Apparently, from what I was sort of talking about in a previous home match with one of the other fans, was it's not Askey's decision, it's the higher ups who are being funny with putting the wages forward, basically, which is not what you want, but hey ho.
That's it, isn't it? I mean, sticking with kind of off-field as well, I mean, looking back over the last few weeks, I kind of trying to keep the fans happy. I mean, there's some of the fans meet the players events for the kids as well. Obviously, the player talk and that's coming up, which that looks really good as well. But is it just kind of just paving over the cracks just to try and keep the fans on side during this hard time at the moment?
Well, I need a lot of paper. Yeah. It's more than they've done in the past seasons, don't get me wrong. I don't think I can remember in the past couple of years that we've had any signing sessions and stuff like that. I don't know how well they've gone down. I've not been to any personally, but then again, I'm not really a child or have a child to take along to, so it'd be a bit weird me
Yeah,
going
well,
along
it's
asking
kinda
for my
gets in the
sign
way,
stuff.
doesn't it?
Well, there's that as well. But no, at least that from that perspective, they're trying to do something as a minimum, which you I suppose can't ask for any more. But then, what more can the players do themselves other than actually play football on a weekend? But
Yeah, I think ultimately it's a valid point. They are trying, but I think ultimately,
Yeah,
as fans, the fans don't give a monkey's chuff about any of that. All they're bothered about is the team on the grass, on the pitch for 90 minutes on a Saturday.
exactly.
That's it. It's like when they talked about how well run the club was behind the scenes in all the club statements. It's like, oh, we're doing all this, we've done all that. The fans really don't care. As long as the players are getting paid and everything's all right and things are going well on the pitch, the fans couldn't care less. Look at Man United. They do well. They don't talk about the Glazers. They do slightly less well. All they talk about is the Glazers.
Yeah.
All that matters is what's happening on that pitch.
Yeah. Like you say things about getting constantly changed at the club and stuff like that, and you mentioned about the players event that they're having on the weekends and that, but hey ho, they've just cancelled that one as well. So it's had another thing to Pool's list that they're not wanting to do. But there you go.
Good man, is it? We come to the final question for both of you. Start with yourself, Alex. I mean, I was mentioned in the league sitting 13, 1 winning 5s. But when you look at it, when you're in that mid-table situation, it really is tight, 6 points off top 6. But then you look down, it's only 5 points off the bottom 4, and it's kind of in that no man's land. And I mean, you keep looking at the games that's coming up. I mean, over the next few months, where do you see yourselves pushing up there, or do you think it'll be still around mid-table come kind of the end of the season?
I think if we get the players back who are injured and everything, when Mancini comes back, if Mancini is indeed the same player, because what I heard about his injury was not pleasant whatsoever, and the fact that he is close to being back is a miracle, quite frankly, because to have 0.3% of your muscle still left on your bone is quite a horrific thing. So whatever they've given him in France, get all the players there, quite frankly, because it's a miracle. But I think if we get to be serious, I was being a bit, get the players back, get the team gelling together again. We've proven that we can win in this league and we can do well. We've got Manny Dizaroué, who's one of the top scorers in the league. Josh Amera is not firing at the minute, but we know he can score goals at this level. He needs a goal. But at the minute, because of all the chopping and changing and everything, the players are that short of confidence. Get some confidence back in the players. Get the players in who are going to make a difference, who can find that key pass, who can unlock the door. I genuinely think that we can still do well this season.
Yeah.
I'm not just, I am an optimist, don't get me wrong, but I genuinely think we still can do well. It's not the end of the world. What's happening behind the scenes won't help. And it does feel a little bit like what happened in the National League the first time around. Not to the same level, but just how things are panning out. But if the players can come back and the team can get some form and get some confidence in it, get a couple of wins in a row. Like you said, it's only 6 points off the top. All right, only 5 points off the bottom places. But get some momentum and it can do well. And we can still get into the playoffs. If anybody writing off the playoffs now, unless you're on minus 17 points, I think is a fool, really. Or maybe
there's always that one team that goes in that crazy run. It could be Hartlepool, couldn't it?
Exactly. Or unless you maybe like Darlow this season, who are not doing very well. But any team at this point in the season can change. It's been proven before. Why not? We get some players back. We get some form. Anything can happen, can't it?
Oh, fingers crossed. And with yourself, Colin, I mean, looking at the next 2 games in York and Kidderminster, one below and obviously one sitting rock bottom. I mean, what's your thoughts going into them 2 games and just your thoughts on the rest of the season as well?
I think 2 massive games, simple as that. I mean, York, obviously the big one for all of us, and I think every single one of us is still surprised that it's not on Boxing Day or New Year's Day, but instead in the middle of November. But that's another thing with the FA. But yeah, 2 massive games and both winnable. But knowing our luck, you've got York and ourselves, who have got some of the worst defensive records in the league. It's probably going to be a 0-0, knowing our luck. But we need something out of both of those games, whether it be a point at a minimum. We need something just to kick on, especially if Mancini comes back. I think every single Pils fan hopes he is exactly the same player he was when he got injured. But I should say before he got injured, even not when he got injured. We don't want that. But get him back, get Cook back, get them firing again, get a bit of confidence in all of the players, especially Josh Amara. I mean, him and Desiree, if we can get them both firing with the rate that Manny is, I think we can definitely get somewhere. But hopefully our luck holds out for the rest of the season. We don't get any more stupid injuries or long-term injuries like we've had done right at the start. And hopefully we can definitely push up there and push the playoffs at the latest, that's for sure.
Oh, excellent. Like you say, both of you, thank you very much for coming on. We wish you the very best of luck for the rest of the season. Hopefully the next one will be nice and positive. Talking about the playoffs, possible getting back into the football league. It'd be nice to see, wouldn't it?
Be absolutely beautiful.
I hope so.
But I think lots to come up on the channel over the next few weeks as well, before we have a little month break over the Christmas as well. But I know even during the show, the little messages being pinging through WhatsApp. Obviously, lots going on in the non-leagues. Seeing this today, Newcastle Blue Star, Brandon, lots going on. So I think I've got lots to go through after the show as well. But again, thank you everyone that's been watching. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your night as well.